Hello, guys. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. No? Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Hey,
Hello.
yes.
Awesome.
Hello, Fallon. I want to report about the bandway in Asia.
Hello. Hello there. Wait, just a sec, guys. I'm going to adjust my headset a little bit because everything is so loud that I cannot actually hear anything. There you go. Awesome. So can you please repeat what you just said because it was so loud that I almost died.
Okay, here's my situation. When I'm just logged into my game and I have been banned for 7 days because and the reason why that I using a legal mod, but I didn't use. I asked Tanita about that, and he said that that ban is from 2 months ago. I had a proof that I was streaming in a video that 2 months ago, and there is no illegal mod. So if they didn't unban it on the 28th of April, I have a tournament. If I can't take back in, who will take the responsibility?
First of all, I think that this has to be addressed to you are an Asian contributor as far as I understand, right?
Yeah.
So I would suggest talking to the Asian team because they can actually look into this. Unfortunately, I won't be able to because it's a different region. And maybe we can discuss it after or tomorrow once we have done with the Q&A session, if that's okay with you. But I would strongly suggest talking to one of the Asian guys because I'm pretty sure that they can help you with this.
I'm trying, but there's no one reply. They told some moderator on forum just told me to wait for to raise a ticket. It's raise a ticket, but there are only 4 days remaining to the tournament. It's a pack tournament.
So maybe try to message them here on Discord.
I try to. No one replies.
Can you maybe poke me tomorrow on Discord because after this I have to run from the office, but tomorrow maybe I can actually poke the Asian guys and see what we can do.
Thank you very much.
All right. So let me just set up the actual stream. That should be okay. Can I even just quickly say something so that I can check that the desktop audio is registering?
Yes, you can test with me. I didn't get the new tank. Is clear enough?
Yes, it works. You didn't get the new tank.
No, I did not.
Can you poke your regional CM and see if they can help you out with that?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna make him tomorrow or something because he's not online right
now. Is it Carol maybe? So it's Falati?
No, it's Derro.
Okay. He's not in the office today, but I can check with him tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, fellow.
Okay, guys. So what I would like to discuss first is TankFest, actually. Let me just set this up so that you guys can actually see what I want to show you. Before we do anything, I wanted to just remind you that please don't share either the link to this video or any of the information that we share here because it might be sensitive or under NDA. So if you want to share something, please ask before. And that's especially true for this TankFest stuff because it's completely not approved yet. It's just something that I planned. This is what we want to do, and currently we are checking whether it's actually doable. So I wanted to tell you guys what the plans are, and then we can still make a couple of adjustments, and we can still see internally whether it's actually something that we can go ahead with. Okay, so just treat this as a plan. Okay, it's not the actual definite final version of it. So let me just show you this. So what we have for TankFest, I was working on the schedule, but from what I can see, I can tell you that we will be able to invite a lot of you guys, at least from our plans. I can see that already, which is really cool. I think that we can meet a lot of you at TankFest. I don't have the final number yet. I have to wait for the final confirmation, and then we can actually start sending invites to you guys once we have that. I hope that's going to happen next week. And we are going to be able to tell you exactly how we can support you. We already have a number in mind. I don't really want to go into the exact number because I still have to check that. But what we want to do, because it's 4 days instead of the 3 days from last year, we want to give you a bit more wiggle room when it comes to the reimbursement, so that you can find a hotel room and then travel and accommodation and food and everything has to be covered as well. So we are looking into this, and I'm going to give you more details as soon as possible. And what I have here is what we want to do, not on Contributors Day, because that I already shared with you last time, but what we actually want to do during TankFest, so those 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. So what we have, and what actually is very interesting to you, is probably the meet and greets. Because last year I think that was very successful. Some of the big guys like Quicky for example, had really huge queues. A lot of people wanted to talk to him, but there were also a lot of people interested in everyone else as well. What I would like to have this year, I would like to have 2 separate areas so that we can have 2 meet and greets going on at the same time, if possible. I'm checking with the events team from our end whether this is doable, and I hope this is actually doable. So let's say Quicky has a meet and greet with his fans, and a couple of other guys can also have a meet and greet at the same time with their fans as well. Now, I looked at the questions that you provided. There was one, I think, from Just Follows, if I'm not mistaken. He suggested there should be a screen for each of the areas, and I think that's a really good idea. I'm checking into this, whether it can be done or not, so that the screens show who is actually doing the meet and greet, and also footage from that particular YouTuber or streamer running in the background, so that it's more personalized. And we want to have queue management barriers so that there are separate queues leading up to the 2 areas. I wanted to have like chairs, couches, so something where you can actually sit down on, paper, pens, promotion flyers. So all of these, like the small things that I want to add, so that we have everything in place so that you guys can just do your stuff. There was also a really cool idea submitted today by Candy, actually. I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's unlikely that we can do it, but if we can, then it would be a really cool thing to pull off. It has something to do with bonus codes, so I'm going to be looking into that tomorrow. And I still want to check with the events team whether we will have a photo booth, because last year we actually had that, and people, while doing the meet and greets, could use the photo booth. But if we have 2 different areas, then I'm not exactly sure how that would work out this time, so we might have to look into a different solution. So this is the general idea. Any comments from you guys about this one? What do you think?
As long as it's close to the beer tent, I'm okay with everything. I mean, what?
Is it actually close to the beer tent?
It better be. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it kind of depends where the beer tent is going to be, right? There are several beer tents at TankFest, I'd say. There's always something nearby. Let's just say that. Have you ever been, Ducky, to TankFest?
Yeah, I was there last year.
So remember where the booth was last year?
Yeah, next to the stage.
Exactly, the conservation hall, right?
Yeah,
and that's actually next to the food courts as well.
I know.
So it's going to be at the same place.
Okay.
They're actually going to be, yeah?
Sorry.
So there are actually going to be 2 places which we are going to use. One of them is the actual booth, which is exactly where it was last year as well. And there is going to be another area which is, well, partly for you guys, partly for social media, which is going to be inside the museum as well. So I also have to figure out exactly where the meet and greet areas are going to be. It might be actually not at the booth so that we don't collide with the queue there. It might be where the social media corner is, which is in Tamiya Hall. It's one of the halls in the museum. Okay, so, and let me just scroll down a little bit. So what we have, this is completely not final. I just added a couple of names so that we can have an idea how it would look. So the area 1 would be for the 1-person meet and greets for the bigger streamers and YouTubers. So Quicky, Circle, Skill. We can always change the names, change the slots, but the idea is that we would have 1 3-hour slot for Quicky based on what I've seen last year and the years before. I think that he actually needs that before completely pissing off everyone by just closing it when it's like half of queue is still there waiting for him. So we need a bit more time. And then for the rest, yeah.
Do you have a link for us to watch this, or is it going to be later?
It's in the regional discussion thread. You can find the link.
Pretty much look at the stream.
Okay, I got it. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So the stream should be showing it. Let me know if there's anything wrong with the stream, but it should be fine, I think. Let me just check it. Yeah, it shows what I need to show. Okay, so this is area 1, and then if I scroll down a little bit further, you will be able to see that area 2, I say TBD, so to be determined, because I am not sure exactly who the invitees are going to be. We can figure this out later on. So we have the slots, and we can fill them in. We can have even shorter time slots if we have more people, so we can be very flexible about this, and we can discuss it with you guys, I think. So once we have everything kind of determines, then we can have a discussion like this, and we just like talk to each other, and I can fill in the slots with you. So this should be pretty straightforward. Scrolling down, stage activities. This is more for us, but there are a couple of things that are probably interesting for you as well. So we have day 1 and day 2. Day 1, we have a slot where you guys could play against the audience, because last year we had a lot of stage activities, not enough in my opinion, because people loved it a lot. And we had a couple of occasions where they could play against us, maybe even against Victor. But I think it would be cool if they could also play against you, and they could be winning prizes while doing so. And this is mostly for like queue engagement or stage engagement as well, because the stage is going to be set up in a way that the queue is sneaking around in front of the stage. So whoever is queuing up for the PC stations, they will be able to see the stage, and they will be entertained while they are queuing up. So if you are interested in this, and once we have the list of who is coming, who we can invite, then we can talk about this as well, who is interested in actually participating. And then there is going to be a presentation from the developers, and then there's going to be a Defeat the Wargaming Staff developer version of the same thing. So instead of with you, it's going to be with us. And that's basically it for day 1. And we are going to have a stream separately in the social media corner from 4 to 7. So instead of having a lot of streams, we want to have one really cool stream. And then in the meantime, we want to concentrate on actually Tankfest and you guys and everyone who is visiting there. Because last year, I think that the thing that we did not so well was that we concentrated all our efforts onto the streams, and we didn't really pay that much attention to people who were actually there for us. And then day 2 is very similar. Actually, there's going to be one major difference. There's this competitive tournament player thing, which I can share some details with you, but it's not completely defined yet. Maybe Ducky and some others are interested in this. So, but you are coming anyway, right? If everything goes according to plan. So, the idea here is that it's esports and not esports at the same time. We want to have some kind of in-game events leading up to Tankfest. We are looking into how we can do this, whether it's going to be like actual in-game missions or something on top of the game. But the idea would be that you participate in random battles, so not a tournament, really, not with the team. And we designate some kind of metric, let's say a combination of win rate, base EXP, something similar. So imagine something like personal rating or something similar that you have to achieve throughout a certain period of time. And then who comes out on top, basically the top 2 or 3 players can be invited to Tankfest, and they can play on the stage. And we are going to have some kind of competition there where the visitors can benefit, and we might even stream this. So this is just a cool activity where like we can invite people who participate in a in-game challenge. And that's it for the stage, and we will have another stream from 4 to 7. That's the idea. And as I mentioned last time, I think we are looking into this possibility of doing this tank pulling contest on Tankfest days. This might actually happen during Contributors Day as well, if we have the possibility to just train a little bit, or we just have fun with the tank ourselves, Wargaming Staff and you guys. But if everything goes according to plan, then we might actually be participating in the actual tank pulling with a team, either with just you, contributors, or a combination of contributors and Wargaming Staff. Let's see if this can happen. It would be really cool, because it's happening. If you guys have ever been to Tankfest, you know that this happens in the big arena, and everyone is watching while the guy in the big tower is commentating on it. It's really cool. And then there's one big thing that is also interesting for you guys is the contributor stream activities. We will have, if I remember correctly, we already have 3 PCs set up for this, 2 in one area and then 1 at the booth, I think. So there is going to be, if everything goes according to plan, at least 3 PCs available to you guys where you can stream from. Right? I'm not exactly sure whether those are the same PCs that we can use for our own stream. I think one of them is. So there's always going to be at least 2 PCs available for streaming. So if you're interested in streaming from Tankfest, then also let me know, please. And that's it for now, at least. So what do you think about this, and do you have any questions?
Oh, I actually have one question on the first thing you spoke about, the Quickie Baby and the Daily Mouse and all of that. What are exactly the big streamers that will be there? Like, is there already a...
Well, I know that Will is coming, so Quickie Baby is coming. I know that Orson already signed up. I am talking to Circon, or at least I messaged Circon. I haven't received an answer, but that's normal from Circon because he's hard to reach. And Skill is also coming.
I was actually wondering because one of the big streamers we have currently isn't there, and they confirmed it that he's going, as I've seen before. So I kind of wonder...
Are we talking about Jingles or something else? Surfosh?
I'm speaking about Dakilzer. He's here.
Ducky is here.
Yeah. Ducky.
So who knows? Maybe Ducky is going to be that to be determined guy on day 2.
Oh, TBD means to be determined. I was like, oh, that is the Daily Bounce.
Hi.
No, that's to be determined. So as I said, this is just a rough plan. So I just put in names without actually like really talking to people. So all I know is that Quickie Baby had this slot last year, and I know that he prefers this slot. So for now, I just added him. But let's say we want to have him on one of these, or actually the first contributor play against audience thingy. Then we might want to like change this up a little bit or something. So we have to figure this out exactly, but the time slots would be relatively this kind of stuff.
Oh, I see. And exactly who is invited to go?
Who's
invited to go? Like,
so as I said earlier, like I don't have the exact names. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that this is obviously you guys as well, that we want to concentrate on the guys who have the highest reach. So I'm pretty sure that the guys I mentioned here on day 1 and day 2, we already reached out to them. We already reached out to you guys as well. And as I said, we probably have a lot of people based on what we have for now in terms of budget. But once I have that finalized, once I know exactly what was approved on our end, like, okay, we asked for these budgets, we have it, and I know how much we actually can help you guys with coming, like what kind of reimbursement we can actually give. And based on that, we will know how many people we can invite. So hopefully this is going to be more final by next week. So next week, I hope that I can reach out to you guys saying that, hey, this is the number. We can invite all of these people, let's say, on the list. I would, if it's up to me, then I'm going to invite all of you guys. But that's also a question of budget, obviously.
When is the last day to fill up if you are interested to go or not? I mean, because
I would say that if you are interested, just fill in any time, as soon as possible, so that we know how many people are interested. So far, we have quite a few people, but I think it's not as much as I expected. So I expected more people to actually sign up. So just sign up if you are in any way interested. Okay. Any more questions about Tankfest? I take that as a no. All right, let's jump over to your questions. I wanted to talk about this a little bit as well. So I put this into this PDF document so that I can show it on the stream. I have a lot of questions from you guys. I'm not sure I can answer each and every one of them. I have, I think, our producer with me, so maybe he can help me out with some of, because they are very, very specific questions. Ah, yes, he's looking at me, he's like, oh God. So
I'm sorry.
Because the thing is that, to be perfectly honest, when I asked for these questions, I mostly meant questions about these community-related stuff, not about game balance, but I can see why you would put game balance questions there as well. I have one comment, though. That document actually had two different tabs, right? The one for questions and then one for feedback as well. So, get something and give something at the same time. So I think that actually giving feedback is something that you guys could do, and I can guarantee that it's going to get put into our weekly feedback documents, which is a good way to actually reach the devs and everyone in the product group. So I suggest that if you have feedback, then please put it in there. I'm going to have another one. I'll probably set it up tomorrow so that we have one for next week as well. So if you have feedback, just put it in there. Not necessarily a question, but like some kind of suggestion, any kind of observation about how the game is at this point, or anything really. Okay. All right. So shall we just try to go through all of these questions and see what I can come up with? So let's see. Is there? The funny thing is that most of the people who ask the questions are not there, so it's going to be interesting. But maybe they will watch the video after. So Salty Jedi asked, is there any information about the second person on mission campaign? So as far as I know, there is information about that. But also remember that most of this is under NDA, so please don't share any of this information. This is mostly for your information at this point. So there is one coming. I don't think we have the timeline for it just yet. It's going to be slightly different from the one that we have at this point. And I know that Salty actually has this question because he's very interested in the details since he has this website. And we will try to share more details about this with you as soon as we can, so that he can also update the website maybe even before the whole thing happens. And then map balance. Fjords is massively unbalanced. Is it possible for Wargaming devs to share win ratios with us? Are there any plans to fix this ASAP? We actually looked into this, I think, with Piotr. And yes, obviously there are some maps that are more imbalanced than others. But I don't think like actually sharing exact win ratios would really help much, because the thing is that what do you really see out of that? I think that most of those numbers are actually more meaningful for the developers. Sometimes the numbers are also very specific to not even maybe the one map, but one map's like certain variation. And if there are like really outstanding numbers, then at some point developers are going to be looking into those as well, if it becomes a problem. Not sure if this answers the question or not. But yes, there are a couple of maps that are a bit like out of line when it comes to win ratios.
Well, yeah, it doesn't take a genius to see what Fjords is bad.
Yes, Fjords is actually one of those. Maybe, well, I think it's actually not the biggest perpetrator.
Well, I mean, if I spawn on the website and I'd rather feel like drowning myself playing the game.
That's a bit extreme, maybe, but yeah, so it's not that huge of a difference that you instantly have to kill yourself, but yeah, there are a couple of maps like that.
Yeah, so fjords are not really the worst when it comes to imbalance, and there's a couple of other maps that, when you look at the statistics, they are equally, let's say, there's an equal difference between the teams as in the case of Fjord map, but we very rarely hear players complaining about these maps, or let's say not that often as Fjord. So from when you compare the statistics and the feedback from players, it's not really clear if what's the actual reason. Is it just the imbalance is coming from the fact that not all players learn how to play the new map and so on? Because for other maps, it seems to be fine, you know.
I guess it's also because if it's a new map, then it just takes a little bit of time until the meta kind of sets in, and then everyone gets to the level where they understand how to play the map, and then you can say that, okay, something is not working if it's still completely unbalanced or something in terms of win ratio.
The bottom line is that we could share the numbers, but the numbers really don't give the full picture. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty pointless to look at just raw numbers.
Okay, let's move on. So Object 268 version 4 question, the usual one. I see so much that I'm not going to, I think, read the exact question. But in general, I think this is like we answered this question, I think, already on our Q&A session, I think, with Andre at some point, that any kind of tank like the Object 268, which was just recently introduced, we are usually looking at it if it's not completely. And I know that some of you guys actually wrote here somewhere that it's game breaking. Like how so? That's the question. Like, what do you consider game breaking?
What do I consider game breaking? A tank that reverses quicker than it can get flanked. A tank that goes quicker forward than most mediums and can take aggressive positions. A tank that eliminates weak spots by driving backwards and forwards completely. Because the upper plate is a weak spot, but as soon as it starts rocking backwards,
my question is this: like, okay, but it is imbalanced. Okay, let's say that it's imbalanced. I'm not saying it is.
A tank that in stronghold and advances gets picked 10 times a side.
The problem with the 268 is
the tank is not imbalanced. The tank is completely broken. It's breaking the game, and it's just completely out of control, that tank, because it's
the worst part is May is top of the tree of 268. It's going to be real fun.
Okay, so maybe I'll address...
One second. I have one thing to say. The problem is that the tank was broken in the test server when you introduced it and you buffed it. I didn't understand that, because the tank was fun and playable, and then you buffed it and broke it.
Maybe I just chime in before you, Piotr, because of the test server thing, because I remember that when the feedback was submitted for this, it was really funny, because some people claimed that it was completely OP, whereas a lot of people actually claim that it's completely underpowered as well at the same time. So just so you know, like even though it might look very straightforward to you from your perspective, I can tell you that a lot of other people have very different views on that.
But you have to think, Ferran, that we are the voice of the viewers. Those viewers are the players, and when more than one is, I mean, when almost everyone here, I'm not going to say everyone because nothing is absolutely in this life, but when almost everyone here is completely agree that this tank is broken the game, you guys should be pay a little bit attention of that, because
just to make it clear, I'm not saying that the tank is not a problem. I'm not saying the tank shouldn't be rebalanced. Maybe it's not up for me to decide. That's for the developers to decide based on your feedback, their own feedback, the numbers, everything, right? I'm just saying that don't forget that there are a lot of different points of view outside of yours. This is one thing I really learned while I was working in community, that let's say different parts of the community have very different ideas about what a tank is or how the tank plays. You guys are very good players usually, and yes, you influence, and like your viewers influence your opinion and vice versa as well, right? But someone who doesn't watch streams, someone who doesn't really care that much about this in-depth game balancing might think that the tank is completely fine, might even think that it's completely like underpowered as well. Like he's whenever I met it was actually pretty bad, so who cares?
Yeah, just let me add that some players may actually not even consider the game or tanks or vehicles in terms of balance at all. It's their way to enjoy the game, the way they like to enjoy the game, and balance may not be the most important factor to them. So that's also one thing to take into consideration. But let's not forget about it, right? That every player is different and they have different priorities. But it doesn't mean that we disregard balance. Absolutely not. Now, to the points that I heard here, the top of the tree and common test and so on. Common test, I think, Zoltan mentioned already that it was part of the feedback from players. I remember, I think, the complaints even before the tank was released that DPM is completely atrocious, that the tank is not going to be useful at all, that is shit, that accuracy is horrible, that you cannot snipe anymore, all these kind of things. And that was the feedback from players. So we took it seriously and did some, developers, game balance team did some changes, right? Now for the top of the tree, again, this is like, we're not even picking these tanks, right? This is completely community event, and each month the tank is selected by players on the forum, which are mostly the hardcore guys, because these are the folks that hang out on the forums. And we only just kind of pay attention to not repeat the classes every now and then. Like keep it different: mediums, heavies, tank destroyers, and so on. Now about the tank being as fast as medium or faster. Yeah, it is, but that's the role of the tank. It's an assault TD, like frontline TD, right?
Okay, and what about this assault TD ramming a super heavy for more damage controlled impact that it takes, or ramming a medium for 1,000 going downhill?
Well, you know the ramming mechanics probably better than me, right? It all has to do with the weight of the vehicle and the thickness of the armor that gets in the direct contact on impact. So when ramming with object, you will most likely ram with your lower frontal plate, which is very thick, and the thickness of this armor is, as far as I know game mechanics, is affecting the ramming damage. So that's why it's very effective at ramming.
But is there incoming some reward for this tank?
My point is that like you can't. I mean, you theoretically you could, but it's not really a good idea to change ramming mechanics just for one tank, right?
No, what I'm saying is if it can do all of that, then it kind of makes it super imba, because it can ram, it can get to a medium's position, it can like hide its weak spot. I can hold better in a 268 one spot than I can in a super heavy, and it's a TD. I can get a quicker position with the 268 than I can with a medium tank.
So yes. I think that the thing is that we are not really arguing about whether the tank is OP or not, because that's once again not for us to decide. I think we are arguing about the fact
if you are going to nerf it sooner or later.
I'm not arguing at all. I'm just explaining some reasoning behind the things that you're mentioning, right? The design decisions that led to the outcome, which you can see, and absolutely without saying it's right or wrong. Or it's balanced or imbalanced, just trying to give you the full picture why this is like that.
And then by default, we are always looking at tanks, and especially after they were released, but you actually need to give it a bit of time. This is what our developers usually say as well. And depending on how, let's say, broken it is, as you define it, the sooner we are going to take action, probably, right? So if this tank is really as broken as you think, and once again, I'm not going to judge because, based on my experience, I only had a couple of matches against it, so I cannot really say. But based on that, our developers are going to take action. Believe me, if it's actually really that broken, we'll see.
Yeah, but we need the action soon, Phelan, not in 6 months' time.
I'm sorry, Phelan, but I don't know. Sorry for interrupting. I don't know about that though, because you don't consider Type 5 broken, while most of us consider it broken as well. So I am afraid you're not even going to nerf it at one point. That's the entire thing, because the Type 5 is not considered OP, while it is also completely dumb.
I'm not 100% sure if it's considered OP or not. I'm pretty sure that Type 5, I actually know that Type 5 is one of the tanks that are being looked at.
It got nerfed. You lowered the weak spot by 20 millimeters. Sorry.
I can actually tell you that even after, I remember talking to certain people on interviews, they never actually said that we are not going to touch the Type 5. We never say that. We never say that something is not going to be changed. It's just that they are looking at it. Once they have a solution, if there is needed, that if actually a solution is needed, then you're going to hear about it as soon as possible. Believe me, I hear a lot about the Type 5 as well. That was the favorite before the 268, I would say.
Listen, I hear you. I mean, I know where this is coming from, right? Because these are the tanks like Type 5 Heavy and Object that are not, let's say, conventional tanks, that they are not like this. All the other heavies and so on, and facing them, playing against them requires to change the approach, right? You cannot just set up your perfect side script like you would do against any other opponent and laugh, right? So yeah, I understand. For a player who really likes to utilize their knowledge of the game and skill, whatever, that can be a bit disheartening. I'm a gamer as well, so.
We really need you guys to do something with that tank. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. It's completely out of this planet.
Okay, I can actually tell you that we are going to let our developers know what you think. I think they already know.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's gonna be really helpful if they know that the tank is completely broken.
Okay, let's move on. So another question about the Type 5 Heavy, but I think this is basically covered by this question, right? For example, lineup. Let's see. I'm not sure, Piotr, if you have any specific answer for this. I actually received an answer from Alexei for this. And he, if I understand this correctly, then he says that we are actually balancing super heavies against each other.
Yes, that's what it looks like. I mean, it just there are more tanks in this category, right? And just Type 5.
Exactly, because this question makes it look like the Type 5 is the category of its own or something. It kind of is because it's unique, as you mentioned.
No, I think he just means in general super heavy MM. To be honest, like when the one team has like a type, the other team has none. One team has a mouse, the other team has none. Some maps, like, you know.
I mean, as far as I understand, we actually have this for super heavies, but sometimes the matchmaker cannot have the optimal solution, right?
Yeah, because I've seen triple mouse on Ensk.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen all the time, because it also has to consider what you have to work with, right? The whole pool of players that are currently queuing.
I think he's like just talking in general and using the type as example.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, so the answer is that yes, in an optimal situation, super heavies are actually matched against each other, but sometimes it doesn't happen. But sometimes it's a unique match as well. Sometimes it actually provides more fun or less, depending.
I don't know, man. Ensk with 3 mouses with double IS7 and a super conk. I can tell you this game ended 15-1.
Yeah, but how many games do you have like that, right? So
in this marathon, quite a few actually.
Okay.
Because everybody's playing tanks for blocking. Like you can see, there's like in a lot of matches there's an imbalance of super heavies. I'm not joking, because in the marathon everybody's picking their super heavies to do the block missions for the Italian tanks, and then you can really see how many matches of those end like that. And
yeah, but that's exactly, actually, that kind of proves the point, right? Because sometimes, because you have the events, there's a higher concentration of these heavy tanks, so you cannot actually match them correctly for each match. But after the event ends, that's going to mostly resolve itself.
By the way, they also use the 268 for doing the blocking mission.
And they do most of the time.
It's a very
the damage mission, and the experience mission, and the spotting mission.
Okay, let's go on. When is the customization mechanic be completed? Why can we only customize tier 8 premium and tier 10? Yes, so this question, it's coming. So this, we already talked about, I think, like early on, that this was only the first stage, and we are going to add more and more to this as we go on. I don't think I can actually say when the next stage is going to be introduced. I'm not sure, Piotr, if you have any info about that we can share. But we are going to add more to these, so it's not only these 2 tiers and types that we can actually customize.
So generally, there will be the customization will be extended to more tiers. So more tanks will, except for currently tier 10 and tier 8 premiums, will be able to use it, and there will be more stuff. So not only paint and some styles, but also, well, extra customization options, more than we have already in the game.
Okay, so let's see. There was talks about balance changes to the Grill 15 back in November, December. We haven't heard anything else in this regard. Can you give us an update? Once again, I asked Alexei to give us an update on that. He says that at this point we don't have any definite plans for the Grill 15. So it's probably not the highest priority right now. But if we are doing something, we are going to let you guys know.
So just maybe one thing I want to add here, the balance situation, right? It's dynamic, right? Maybe back like few months earlier, it looked like the tank may need some changes or anything, but after new updates, there's no need for that anymore. And I'm not talking about Grilla right now, but just thing to keep in mind in general, right? That the balance of the game can change even if we don't change, and not only can, it will, and it is changing even if we don't change anything with the tanks, right? Because the game is vehicles plus players, and players are part of the balance. And how they play, the meta, how they the collective mind of how to play maps, where to go with which tanks, and so on. So all this is also influencing balance, and this is the part that we have absolutely no control of. But this is part of the game, and this constantly evolves and impacts balance even if we don't do anything. But that's just a little digression from me.
Here's a different question about the CCs testing premium vehicles using the super tests, and the inverter warships. Apparently they can test normal vehicles on super test sessions and give feedback. So this is actually interesting because this was something that last year, I think, or maybe a year before, I'm not sure exactly. So a lot of people from the contributors who actually went to TankFest received access to the super tests, and because the way the super test works, you actually have to provide feedback. You have to go through the motions. You have to do the tasks that are supposed to be done on super tests, right? The thing is that it actually is a lot of effort, and from what I've seen, not a lot of people, I could tell you that mostly none, actually took advantage of it. So sure, we can look into possibilities like this. We can give you an option to participate, but the question is, do you guys really want to? Because if you do, then let us know and we can maybe look into how we can arrange it. But in general, we are looking into other options of giving you guys access. As I said earlier, I have to talk to Alexei, not Alexei. It's hard to not to confuse these two guys. We are going to have new test accounts for you guys, where you actually will have all the normal tanks, for example. I know that this is not exactly what Harkonnen is asking, but I'm just telling you this because we are changing a lot of stuff that we can do for you guys. So if you have suggestions, just let us know and we can look into it. But it only makes sense if you actually take advantage of it. That's the thing. Okay. Preferential matchmaking vehicles. Harkonnen is really grilling me here. Instead of making small changes to balance them. Okay, so I can see this. So as far as I understand, like Harkonnen is he's saying something really specific. But from my understanding, for now, we didn't really say that this is something that we are going to do. What we said that we are looking into changing preferential matchmaking tanks, and we are going to tell you guys exactly how we are doing it as soon as we can. I know that the KV5 is going to be the first one. I'm not sure if this is actually, whether this reflects what we want to do. So I would just hold on to this whole thing, hold off on giving judgment on this, because I think there's going to be an article explaining what we do with the KV5. I know that it's coming relatively soon, so that might actually give you more info about this. So the bottom line is that we are addressing preferential matchmaking tanks. It's not exactly an easy issue to solve, but we are trying to do it. NDA. Create a channel in the Discord where we can give feedback under NDA and developers can reply. Ask questions where developers reply. Warship says this on Sub-Octavian. Other developers are super active there. At the moment with World of Tanks, feels like we ask a question and either never get replies. If it does, it's 12 months later. I don't think that Harkonnen is giving us enough credit here, because I think that we changed a lot. You actually have this document as well. That's one of the reasons why we're having this discussion. And there's the option to give feedback in that document. And for example, Alexei, who is, I think, very knowledgeable about our developments because he's heavily involved in it. He's actually active in the chat and usually participates in some of the Q&As as well. We can look into ways to get even more from those guys. The thing is that they have their own jobs to do, right? I know that Sub-Octavian, as far as I understand, he's actually meant to do this customer-facing, player-facing, contributor-facing role. I'm not sure if normal developers can actually do that from our end, but we can look into ways. And we already are doing much more than we used to, I think. We can do more, obviously. Vehicle balance. Any plans to start working on Tier 8 and lower vehicle rebalances? There are some vehicles who still are very much outdated to current game meta. So Alexei once again answered me, and he says that yes, that's coming later. So we first started to look into these, and we are going to work our way down. I think that's something that we already said earlier on as well. I think Paul also had interviews with us saying the same thing. So we are basically working our way down the tiers.
Yeah, but the main point here is that we need to take a break. And the reason why we need to take a break is because last year we have introduced a lot of balance changes, starting from tier 10, 9, and 8 mostly. And these changes proved to not only affect the tanks we are changing, but many other things. It's like, butterfly effect a bit. And it is very, very hard to predict what potential, seemingly small changes will end up, what kind of result they will have overall on the gameplay. So we feel like right now we need to leave this alone for a while to fully let the gameplay stabilize around current balance, and after the changes we did to tiers 8, 9, and 10, and then we can try again, because making too many balance changes to different lines, tiers, and so on too fast after each other is not really the optimal way.
We need to leave the meta to settle a little bit, right?
Yeah, sort of, yes.
Okay, so there are quite a few other questions from Harkonnen. Any plans to introduce a new SPG branch to the game? I don't have any information on this one. I'm not sure, Piotr, if you have any. But in general, this is a completely new content that we haven't really introduced yet, so I don't think I can share any kind of info.
I don't know. Do you want more SPGs in the game?
Yeah, that's a good question.
No. How many fans of artillery here?
Oh my God! Please don't.
Oh, okay, well.
Okay, that's good feedback. I actually heard some children cry in the background, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. We are both two over here.
Nice.
Okay. There used to be men before they got hit by Artie.
Okay, there is another follow-up question about SPGs. Any plans to mitigate the problem the new stun mechanic created? Focus slow vehicles are almost unplayable sometimes. Okay. I think that actually the new Artie mechanic is much less criticized than the old one, to be honest. When I look at feedback, yeah, people still hate Artie in general on the forums. But to be honest, the hate, in my opinion at least, it seems that less brutal than it was. A little bit. So
I don't know what the question is, how to mitigate the problem. I mean, on the development side or on the player side? On the player side, I know how. Don't get hit.
Impossible with your maps.
On the development side, I mean, that was the entire idea behind the stun mechanic to like you guys know, right? What was the idea? It has its drawbacks on the gameplay, but it allows you to continue playing. And well, saying unplayable, I mean, maybe, but I think it's still better than being sent to garage, right?
No, I'd rather be sent to garage, actually. I'll take the old Artie over this one every day of the week.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure about that, actually, because this one's actually worse.
Okay.
I love sitting behind a corner, getting stunned, knowing that I can't use my medkit because it's a bad shot Artie. It's going to hit me 3 more times, and then getting perma-stunned for the rest of the game, even though I'm not doing anything wrong. I love that. I love also getting stunned for 12 seconds when the Artie misses me for 20 meters.
Yeah, I love that too, to be honest.
Zero damage. My crew is literally shaking for nothing. They're sitting there shaking because, oh, it was close, guys. We cannot shoot at anything anymore in my heavy because I don't have the accuracy or the reload.
Taki, it was the pressure. It was the pressure inside the tank.
Man, you can't justifiably tell me that 12 seconds.
I'm just joking with you. I know. Believe me, I suffer from that as well.
I think that's one of my questions. Why 12 seconds for 0 damage?
I'm going to give you some ideas. You guys maybe can take some note over this. You guys can put all the artists you see in Himmerdorf, for example, Manhattan, for 5-4 team. You know, but if you meet 3 of them in Pro Roca, what are you gonna do? Everybody's running, looking for a stone to
and not getting hit. I think I put that in one of my questions. Not getting hit is impossible. Like not getting hit is impossible. If I'm trying to contribute to my team by taking a position that is crucial, I will get hit by Artie. I will get perma-stunned by Artie. Should I just go sit in K1 behind the bushes like the rest of my team?
Listen, two points from me here, right? So 1 point, this is a matter, I would say, kind of personal preference, how you play, right? You prefer to play aggressively and take the advantageous position and so on.
No, it's not even an advanced
position. I bet there's some players at least that don't really have this problem.
I know there's people that don't have this problem. The ones that sit in the bushes for 15 minutes and don't get hit by Artie because they're not spotted. They don't have an issue with Artie.
Not only these, right?
But maybe you can do some things to get the situation better. Like, for example, reduce the blast radius of the cells.
Okay.
For example, put only 2 Artas so you
it's
can
make...
Maybe I phrased it a bit wrong. What I'm trying to explain here is that the perceived size of the problem that you're describing may be bigger because of your personal play style or the way that you play the game, right? And other players may not see this as such a big problem, and we on average problem. It's a mechanic that affects them, right? It's not problem. It's just how the game works. But we need to take into account like average how it works on average in the game, right? If we would change mechanic in a way that you being, let's say, the most aggressive and the first to be spotted wouldn't be affected by artillery at all, being the primary target because of your gameplay style, then by just extrapolation, the artillery would have absolutely no effect on guys with the different gameplay style that it has, let's say, moderate effect now. So, like for me, it's just a matter of point of view here, pretty much, you know. And I can see that when I play differently, how I get affected by different, let's say, challenges of the game, right? Be it mechanics or opponents or various tanks or so. So the way you play the game impacts heavily your exposure to different things in the game, and then you perceive them as a bigger or smaller or more important or less important thing. I'm not sure if you agree.
No.
Or Zoltan, but
no, not at all.
Drop fame, drop 1,000 WN8 points, and
wait, let me just drop my clan tag, my name, and my overall stats.
Basically,
by already anyway.
You're too famous.
The thing is, the main issue of this game is already becoming. Yeah, the main issue of this game is already that way too many people play passive, and the only thing Artie does is make people play even more passive. And yes, Artie should punish maybe the most aggressive player, but this is not punished. This is literally perma-stun to death. And that still doesn't explain me how a 0 damage hit makes my crew useless. Because the stun effect is like really harsh. It's not like I can continue on playing. In like big heavies, the stun really, really makes it almost impossible to do anything. Because of my accuracy, my reload, nothing. Like, it's not punishment. Like, it's literally like I get to sit there and do nothing because I'm stunned.
Okay, so I think that the Artie discussion is something that we could do for probably a couple of hours, and we would probably still
hours? Well, we'll still be here next week.
Exactly, that is the thing. But I can also tell you that, believe me, I had these discussions on offline events with people who are much less advanced when it comes to gameplay, and they were arguing for the exact opposite. I can tell you.
I mean, I will agree that I come from I think one of the most like Like, not to sound bad or anything, but I do think that I take a lot more RD hits than usual people do, sadly enough.
Believe me, I know the feeling. So I am not as good when it comes to XVM stats as you, but I am also well known, so that also amplifies it. So maybe I don't take as many hits as you, but I feel your pain. I can tell you that. Like on Pro Rovka, if there's an RT and I peek out, I am going to probably get focused. So I mean,
like, yeah, it's 10 minutes. I check his stats after the game. I got 6 hits from RD, fired 6 times. I don't know.
I play with Wargaming tag, guys.
Exactly. So we know, believe us.
John Phelan, one last thing before we go. Do you guys know that there is a bug that you don't get any sound when you get damage?
Yes, this is something
that because it's really annoying.
Yes, that's something that we're working on, and I put that in the feedback once again. I'm pretty sure that they're going to iron that out soon. So that's actually here in these questions, I can see that most of these questions are actually more like feedback than questions. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to just compile this and I'm going to send it to Alexei as it is so that they are aware of it. I can tell you that all of it is going to be presented to Alexei, who is like, how can we explain what Alexei does? He's basically he's coordinating development when it comes to maps, game balance. A lot of the questions are actually, I think, meant for him. But most of them are actually more like suggestions and remarks about things like RT and OP tanks and this kind of stuff. So I don't think we will be able to like really answer you guys here because like these are things that we already discussed so many times. I think there's always different sides to this, just like with RT, right? So obviously you guys who are very experienced, very good players, you have one opinion and then average players have another opinion. So depending on who you ask, it can be very, very different. But yeah, so I'm going to send this as a feedback to the developers. But I think that for today, because I planned this to last until 7 and we haven't even reached the halfway point in the questions. So I'm going to probably just call it a day. And if
when is my friends list fixed, Fan? When is my friends list
fixed? That's another thing that is always on the list, right?
Man, I have 250 friends online. I can only have 300. Like, how does this work? I can't remove anybody. I can't add anybody. It's like a loop, Fan. It's out of control.
Yes, I received that feedback from different people, including you, QuickUAB, some other contributors. We know about it. We sent it. As soon as I have more info, I'm going to tell you. If it happens to you and you can actually take a screenshot of what is happening, when it's happening, everything like that, then please send it to.
I can take screenshots right now because anybody I try to remove error.
Okay. So as soon as I have more info about it, believe me, that's really annoying to me as well because like this just keeps coming up all the time. Not everyone is affected by it. That's the issue. This is not something that is affecting every single player in the game. It can be very specific to certain people. And the other thing is that I know that a lot of people are saying that this is basically the friend list issue or the chat issue. But it's actually more complex than that because there are several different issues bundled into one. And I think people are talking about different things, but like one thing actually, but they are actually different things. So, for example, clan chat is very different. Like Peter probably has more info about this, but
yeah. So on the technical level, it's some parts that seem like the same functionality to you guys are done differently. Like one-to-one chat, for example, private messages, and chat like general chat or clan chat. They are completely different things, completely different systems, and completely different teams working on them on our end. Mm-hmm. And when we get info like chat is not working, we absolutely don't have enough information to understand who we need to report to this problem, who to contact, whose balls to break that it's still not working properly. And we really need details. We really need details like, and it doesn't really help because when we don't get dates or times or information from who is affected, because on a general level, most things work just right, and there is like the chat, for example. Not talking about friend list now, but the chat. There were reports, but we really couldn't pinpoint any particular problem with this. It was just some individual players being affected every now and then, but it was visible enough for us to get the reports, but not enough to actually hunt down the underlying cause. So we really need your help with the details here.
Okay, guys. So I think that we can call it a day today. In the future, I think I have to, because I just came up with this idea for the questions, but I think it's very, very broad and it's going to be hard to answer if we don't have help from actual devs. So if you want to do something like this, something really specifically about game balance, then maybe we can actually narrow it down a little bit and then ensure that someone from the development team can join us and help. So that's something that I can look into in the future. What we can answer is anything related to community, publishing, social media, whatever we do with contributors, that you can always ask me, obviously, and I can give you answers. What I have at this point, specials as well, obviously. So this I'm going to just submit to the developers. If I receive more answers to any specific questions, then I'm going to just share it with you guys. But in general, I'm just going to make sure that it reaches them. Any other questions about not game balance, but something that is like more TankFest related or anything else that we are doing with the contributor program or something like that from you guys?
Well, I've heard that every community contributor gets access to a press account. How can I get one?
So this is something that is coming up. I think that for the next proper preview, that's what I was promised, this is the plan at least, we are going to have that press account. So I'm not sure exactly when that's going to be.
All right.
So this is going to be for everyone. So once I have the accounts, I'm going to just distribute them to all of you guys.
And are we able to stream and make YouTube videos with that account?
Yes. So the idea for this account would be to use it for like testing purposes. So whenever you want to create content, and yeah, obviously when you want to create content, sometimes you have to play a couple of dozen games to achieve the desired result. So that's completely fine. We just want to avoid anyone using these accounts as their primary accounts. And then we also don't want you to participate in clan wars or competitive game modes or something like that. But other than that, when you just use it for actually creating content for your channel or blog or anything like that, then that's fair game. Any other questions? Any suggestions that you guys want to do differently? Anything that you want to do that we are not doing? Anything like that?
About the TankFest, I didn't put my name in the list. I am really sure with my time about work, family, but I'm not sure if in the end I have a spot. So what I want to know is you guys are going to leave some open place for maybe people in the last minute after you guys made the competition.
So my suggestion is to just put your name in there if you're in any way interested, and then if we reach out, it's not a problem if you say that, hey, sorry, but I have something else to do. That's completely fine. But it never hurts if you just put the name in there.
Okay. Perfect.
I'm gonna have to watch the video back because I've only just got back from work, so I don't know what the conversation was that we've had about TankFest.
At first, it was about TankFest, and then we were grilled over an open fire about balance questions, and now we are talking about TankFest again. That's the TLDR version of it.
Oh, okay. It's like a happy sandwich, was it? That
something like that.
Okay, cool. No, I'll watch that bit back then. See what you said about TankFest.
Okay.
Okay.
I can also send you guys the document that I showed, but please keep in mind that document is very much subject to change. It's just the current plan that we have.
Fluid is the word you're looking for.
Exactly. We are very fluid with our plans at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, guys?
Yes, I know you're not taking any more questions because game balance, but I want to ask a question that I've been trying to ask you for a long time now. Because hold tier 8 premium tanks are not really OP as they used to be before. So like if I want to take an IS-6 and literally use it as a heavy. I can't in some games, and I get higher tiers and all of that. I mean, I'm not the most experienced player, I know, but it's some feedback I've been getting, and even I've been experiencing that some tanks are unplayable.
Well, I can tell you that every single feedback I send when it comes to like the weekly feedback or anything specific to an update or something similar, this is also one of the points that I say, like, hey, this is the sentiment, these are the things that that the players said, and also people are talking about this, and this, and believe me, Tier 8 game balance is one of those points. So yes, we receive that feedback a lot, and I'm like submitting it to the developers. Once again, it's always a question of who you ask, though. And I think maybe Frontline is going to be an interesting solution to this as well, because it's Tier 8. So I think that's a good place where you will be able to use your Tier 8 tanks. Maybe it's just an idea that I have. But in general, I think that this is also something that our developers are looking at. That's the thing. Like maybe I'm not sure how obvious this is, but it's not like we are never actually looking at game balance until something breaks, right? So it's
really?
Yeah, because no, when something breaks, no, seriously, I know that you guys have these ideas that if you don't care about that. Yes. But the thing is that, believe me, like people are actually looking at stats. People are actually looking into this kind of thing.
I'll send up a GoFundMe then for glasses.
Guys, we would never know that something broke if we were not continuously looking at the statistics.
I mean,
like,
we would
how would we know that we need to change anything if we were not checking it all the time?
I know you're looking at statistics, but they don't mean everything.
But that's the thing, like it's not only statistics that we're looking at.
No, it's not only statistics. But statistics are basically the another 50% of the feedback from players, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's one part of feedback that we're getting, and this is the direct feedback, saying you guys and the other guys in the forums and other channels telling us, hey, this and that, I don't like that, I don't like this, change that, blah, 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 right? All that stuff, that direct feedback. And then we're getting the indirect feedback from you, from all players, actually, from way more players that the feedback that we're getting directly. And this feedback is just in the forms of how you play, right? The way you play and others play the game, it's also very valid feedback, and it allows us to draw many conclusions. And this feedback is represented by all the numbers, right? So we take your feedback direct, your feedback in forms of statistics, and then the third part is like our game developer and game designer experience and expertise.
The holy trinity, right? Basically.
Yeah, let's say like that. But
three different kind of lights, basically.
Oh yeah, fun. I only have one more question. If you asked us about the texture stuff, right? Is there an ETA when this is going to be fixed? Because I lost the 12k damage because of you guys.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I literally lost your texture. Broken.
Okay, so this is something that is ongoing, basically. But if you have any like screenshots or anything
everywhere.
That shows,
that's the thing, right? Literally everywhere, almost.
That's maybe a bit of an over. Like
there's a lot of spots where your reticle shows you can hit something, and then you hit the rock. Okay.
Send it to me. Like I can tell you that
I'll send you my 11k damage replay, and you can cry together with me every time because I've watched it 30 times and I cry every single time.
Did you have it as a video on somewhere, like YouTube or something?
I have it as a replay.
Oh, nice. Can I use it?
He's got it narrated with a baby crying over the top.
Can I show it maybe on one of our streams? It's like, hey, this is the Killzor. Like,
I'll give you the replay. You can cry together with.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it, actually. But seriously, guys, if you see something like, you can actually show us where that is, just let me know, because I was specifically asked to send that directly to the developers. So if I have the proof, I can just send it to them and they can correct it.
So there's also another thing. If you guys have a solution about the spamming with the boost services and all of that, I mean, every time I log into the game, I have like 3 or 4 new messages selling a service. like give players 3,000 credits, 10 plays per day, and then they put a website. They're literally just botting accounts. Like, can't you guys put a filter on the chat like they need 100 games to be able to send a message or something? Because it's getting quite annoying.
So maybe Piotr, you can tell us about this.
Yeah, it's a currently quite big issue. I mean, visible issue, and we are already working on solution. It hasn't been like these spam bots have not been a problem in the past, and so it's gonna take some days before we close all these possibility to spam. But we are for the time being we are working against it manually, and soon we will have like an automated solution to fight that.
Okay.
So just like not sure if that's much relevant, but the solution is there. It just needs to be adapted to our region, like to European server.
Oh, I see.
Sorry. Phelan, one quick question. You know, if we're producing merchandise for different things, so we do, obviously Philo produces merchandise with different things on. Are we okay? Who do we have to run things by? In terms of if we want to use like World of Tanks logos and stuff, is there a specific?
Yes, that actually is an interesting question. I had that with, I think it was the What Arty Noobs who approached me with this. So the way it works is if you want to use the logos and you want to actually like profit out of it, so you are selling this stuff, then it has to come through us and we have to like approve it. Are you actually selling this merchandise?
What we do is we don't make any profit on it whatsoever. So we sell it virtually for cost price plus postage, and because it's basically it's promotion for the clan, but it's also promotion for the game. And we look at it like this. I did something for one of the Tank Fests last year or the year before. We did some banners and some flyers and things, and I ran that past. I can't remember who it was who I sent it to at Wargaming, and they said, "Yeah, that's fine." It was literally just to tie the game in. It wasn't anything that we were selling in that sense, apart from the
which is usually fine.
Yeah, okay.
The only issue is when you actually want to sell it.
Thing. Okay. So if you're not making profit on it, then you're okay.
I would say if you're not selling it, like the profit part is a bit questionable, to be honest.
Okay.
So here's my suggestion: if can you just send me an email?
If you're going to sell it, yeah. If you're going to sell it, send it. If you're not going to sell it, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. But if you want to sell it, then please like send me what you want to do, and I can run it by our BizDev guys and see how we can deal with it.
Cool. That's fine. Then. Thank you very much.
Okay, no worries. Last question. I take that as a no question.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, go for it then.
Are there any plans for the Fire 2000?
Fire 2000. Piotr, is that like one of the Italian tanks, right?
Yeah, it's an Italian tank, a First World War II tank.
Isn't it? Maybe I'm not sure, but isn't it the one that we use?
Regional discussion. I have a link for you.
This one.
That thing.
So this might actually be before Tier 1. So it's probably a bit too early for us, I would say, looking at it.
Yeah, I'll send a video to you maybe a week ago. Maybe you haven't seen it.
It just looks like a Fiat 500 with a turret.
Jesus, this thing looks funny, actually.
Cinquecento with a turret on, nice.
Yeah, we think they should be like the new TOG at like, I don't know, Tier 2 or Tier 3 as a premium or something.
I see, okay. So I thought that you meant that this should be the Tier 1 or something for
Well, that was
Italians.
the first suggestion. Then you made an announcement that would be the Fiat 3000, so then we suggested it maybe could be a premium. We made a couple of videos about it, but I don't think you've seen them.
So another thing is that like most of the tanks we are already looking at, as far as I know. So whenever there was something interesting, our developers are looking at it. So just the fact that we have this branch of Italian tanks doesn't mean that we are not going to have something in the future. I don't have any info about this specifically. I can ask. I'm not sure if we can actually disclose anything, but I'm pretty sure that they are aware of it.
All right, thanks.
So it might actually come in the future. It looks really interesting. Let's just say that.
That makes it. It's extremely popular within our community. They are begging for it.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so how would you actually play this thing though? Because like, how do you shoot with this thing?
Nobody really plays the Thug either. You just kind of drive. So
yeah, but you can still shoot with it, right? At least. Okay, looks interesting though. Okay, guys, I think this is it for today's session. I'm going to post a new set of documents for next week, and I hope that by next week we will be able to have even more specific information about Tankfest. Do you guys want me to put this Tankfest document into the chat just so you guys can have it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sure. So in that case, thank you very much for joining today. See you next time. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you very much.
Have a good week.